Gabe, back again. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Man, yes, it's good to be back. Always.
It's good to have you back. And we've crossed paths, I think like three times since we last did this, I want to say.
Yeah, man, for sure. And
Yeah,
I know every time it's been like, let's do it, let's do it. Here we are. We're doing it again.
we're doing it. This is it. This is the thing
Yeah,
we're
man.
supposed to be doing.
Yeah. I think I last saw you was when we did the music video.
Even after
Or,
that, with the
or did you?
Continental Room.
I was about to say, did you went to the Continental? That's right, dude.
Yeah, yeah,
Dang, that was a cool show.
yeah. That place gets so packed out. It's crazy.
Yeah, I had the impression, I guess they did expand it, but they expanded in the sense of like a second room,
Yeah,
right? But it's all in all pretty good. They did definitely update like the sound and the way everything feels, you know what I mean? More reasonable to that little stage.
yeah.
So that's always nice.
It's like a weird little stage because it's on the corner and you're kind of facing the crowd, but the crowd like expands out. I don't know. It's odd,
Yeah,
but I
it's the
like it.
corner and then there's like that thing like you can't see I mean, I don't know if you're into that, but you can't see people's feet, the artist's feet. Right? And then there's like a little like thing that comes down too from the top. So you're kind of like only getting a little leg, a little torso,
Yeah,
you
you're
know?
you're supposed to be seeing what you're supposed to be seeing there. They don't want no funny business going on up on that stage.
There we go.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
But all in all, sometimes like they used to call for like some weird sound as far as like the amps, you know? But yeah, I think they just kind of did a bit more reasonable sound system for that little stage in the room, so that everything's like communicating better for sure.
yeah. Which is good. That's what you're looking for, and it's because of you, right? Like you did the whole thing. You said let's
We
redo
brought in
this.
we brought in our people. We said, check it out. What's the budget? Because we're going over for sure.
Right.
You know,
What's the budget? Throw it out. We're not.
yeah.
Yeah,
You know what? Don't even tell me it because I know we're going over already.
yeah. Doesn't matter. Yeah, we're gonna need some outside funding on this, but it worked out.
Yeah.
It sounds good now.
Or we take out some fake credit cards.
Whatever has to be done.
Yeah. By all means.
Yeah. However it gets done, it gets done.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but you've been pretty busy lately.
A little bit, yeah, well, just with a little bit of life work, and then we just did a European tour and a little well, we did cut two California runs. We did when I last saw you, we did some shows up the coast, and then like soon after that, we took off to Europe for about 3.5, almost 4 weeks.
That's crazy.
Um, yeah, that was pretty gnarly. That was like our first time back over there since like pre-pandemic.
Dang.
So that was pretty rad. Yeah, the last time we were slate to go out there was when we released the Headspace album.
Wow.
And we were supposed to do the support run for that, right? And dude, I remember like very clearly. I don't know if I talked to you about this last time, but like, the whole things were shutting down at that time in the world. And we were kind of like scratching our heads like, do we go on tour? Like there's already bands that were already on tour, right? But then as I remember everything closed down in March, right? Of that year. And early March was happening and bands that were on tour were still out, but some people started canceling stuff and going home. And then we were just kind of like, well, what should we do? Like, is it safe for us to go out there? Like, what if we go out there and they stop everything? Now we're just stranded in wherever we landed.
Yeah.
And I remember we were talking to our booking agent out there. He's from Italy. He was like, guys, give it a week or two, and I bet everything's gonna be okay. If anything, we'll just cancel the first week of tour. And we're just like, I don't know, man. Like big labels are being sent home, and big artists on big labels are being sent home. The NBA just canceled the live television game and evacuated the stadium. Like, I don't know. Our little tour doesn't seem so important, right? And like,
You're like,
yeah,
nah, you,
like,
you guys are good. Come on through. Come on through. We'll
yeah,
figure it out. Yeah.
definitely he was kind of pushing that idea a little bit, but of course no one knew what the heck was going on, right? So just by like we had like a band meeting over some beers, and it was just like I think it's safe to just cancel this, dude. Like some of our friends' bands had just gotten home, and it's like, dude, if they're coming home, like, I don't know. And so yeah, we had to cancel it. And like days after that, I want to say by the end of that week when we announced our cancellation, we were supposed to fly out there like by that Friday. And like I think by that Friday, like the I forget whatever it is, however they did it. Most media reports were reporting, things are going to be closing down for the next 2 weeks, And then it was just like, wow. And then yeah, now we know. Now it's like 3 years later, we finally made it back to Europe.
You finally did it though.
Yeah, we find. Hey, dude. Again, it might take me a while, but I'll get there.
Yeah. It was you.
Um,
You're just building up a lure around it. Like, oh, when are they coming? Yeah, you gotta
right. Yeah.
draw the people in.
Are they still a band? I don't know. I heard they were just AI performers now. Um.
Oh man. No, but
So it
that's
was kind
three
of
three years. That's a
That's a
long
long
time.
time, dude. I mean, we've been touring already. Like, we did a little run in 21, a pretty big run in 2021. Like once everything's up and up again, we went for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It
then
I
in
and I
20,
remember seeing you. I mean, like multiple times in Orange County. Actually, even
yeah,
like 3 times. You guys,
yeah.
and that's bigger than Europe. Yeah, like Spain is cool and Italy, but like Orange County, dude, that's
I
that's
mean,
that's
Fullerton's on the map,
big time stuff,
big time. Yeah, big time
big time.
stuff.
Fullerton,
Yeah,
Santa Ana, these kind of places. Yeah, of
notorious, dude. Known for their
absolutely,
olive oils and wines.
of
Things like
course.
that. But yeah, we just kind of wet our feet just touring around the US more, and actually like when things opened up again and we hit the road again, it was kind of weird to like just see that like not weird. It was cool that like the shows are getting bigger for us here and more consistent, like we've done all the tours. We've done the like small tour, playing at a random cafe. We out of playing like I don't even know where we're going, but we're gonna show up and that's where we're supposed to play. And it's a little cafe, or if it's like I don't know, some kind of college dorm thing, but like now, when we first started wetting our feet again on touring, it was nice that's like, oh, this is a pretty legit venue. Like, oh, this is an actual room for music. And it's like, hmm. I still think in the sense of sometimes like we're that small band and we're putting on a show and it's like, well, I did invite like 5 friends, so at least hopefully they show up. You know what I mean? And so yeah, it was cool, and it was going really good in the U.S. for a couple of years. So I was like, why not like just do this for a little while and get our sea legs back? And but then for sure, our European booker Luca started like really, hey guys, this is coming up. Hey guys, and was like, all right, let's do it. In 23, let's do a small run. Let's wet our feet again and see how it's going. And much like when we were doing the U.S., when we started going to Europe, it was kind of the same idea. Like the tours were, wet your feet tours, like a small cafe or, super tiny bars. Like I remember us and Triptides played this bar in Belgium. And it's just funny because we were just in the same town on this last tour in Ghent. And this bar was like tiny, dude, like the size of like just like a regular room almost. And they were like, "Yeah, you guys play in here." We're like, "What?" And we're like, "I get," but it was like multi-level and it was all open in the middle. So if you're on the second floor, you can look down to the floor of
Okay,
the bar, the band's playing, and it was like at least three, maybe four levels. And we would be playing, and if people wanted to like order a bar or go upstairs, they had to like walk through us performing, like walk through me through the kind of sneak through the drums, and it was like one of those show must go on kind of places. But now a few years later, we're back there, and we just played like a pretty good size, like an actual venue club at a cool location, and a good amount of people there, like packing out the room, and it was like, oh wow, the growth, the interest is growing, so that was very cool to see throughout Europe, and again, not doing these, which is all good. They're always fun stories because we were definitely, our bass player was his first time. We've always had like the change of bass player, not always, but we've had a few from our original bass player John to our friends that kind of stepped up and filled in. Um,
Like Glenn did it for a bit, right? Glenn
um,
Bergman from Triptides.
No, well, Glenn used to, I mean, he might have played bass for a show, but he used to like record and produce all of our
Oh, okay.
stuff, and also perform with us on the keyboards and like organs and just kind of, giving that extra sparkle to the band for sure, the live set for sure, and he was an integral part of it all for a moment, but again, his band started getting busy, our schedules started being different, and it was just kind of like, well, you have your band that you're loving to do, so like, it's all good, dude. We're on the same booking agency. We'll see you on the road,
Yeah, we'll see you at the cafe in Europe. We'll be there too.
Exactly, dude. Yeah. And but yeah, it's been cool that all of our bass players have been kind of like fairly local to just the Southern California region, so everyone's kind of got the same feel for each other. We kind of had the same background, so it's like a friend that I met, that I've had for years or something like that.
Yeah.
So when we met Kevin, we found out he was from Chino Hills. It was like, oh, I know people from Chino Hills, like we're cool. But it's just cool that everyone's just local. We've always kind of fortunately somehow always just been like a California dudes band, that's all everyone in the band generally is from and what it is.
Yeah.
With the exception of Glenn Brigman, but he's like an honorary California dude.
Yeah, by this point, definitely. I would definitely
Oh, for
link.
sure. Yeah, he's got this like mind that works at a different speed, which is amazing to be around sometimes. And it could be hard to keep up sometimes too. But that's just how he operates, and it's pretty cool. He's got his fingerprint on a lot of great things. And he even sends me like random like just like this past week or so. Um, and he's done this several times. Like he'll do this several times a year where it's like, haven't really chatted with him lately, and then he just texts me a link to like a new album he just finished. And it's like, damn, you just showed me like an album some months ago, and that one hasn't been released yet, but you just released another album. So how many do you have in the can right now? It's like, geez,
And it's
which
all
is great.
good.
But I also think like, man, you're gonna have to relearn those songs when it's time to play them. Like, like we just finished recording an album and LP number 3, right?
Yeah.
And we went on tour. We finished the album like earlier in the year, and we're pretty jazzed about it, of course, right? But it was like, finish the album, and then the next mindset was like, get ready for the shows and the tour, So it's kind of like forget the whole album because you can't really. We're not going to go on tour and play like 11 songs no one's heard before.
Right. Right.
Which essentially that's what the first tours ever are. Like no one knows who the hell you are. You're about to play a whole set of no one knows one song, and you just hope they stick through it, and you hope they say, that wasn't too bad. So we don't want to do that. So we had to like, and we wanted to really kind of like sort of try to highlight the Headspace album still, because like they haven't seen, and our first tours in America hadn't seen us perform most of those songs, the ones that we do perform live from that album. Um, so we kind of did a good chunk of that. A good chunk of the first album, we brought back even songs we haven't played in years, dude. Just because it was like, dude, the song's a banger. Let's try it. Let's see what happens when we do it live. And we did it live, and it was like, told you, you know.
How did it feel kind
Uh,
of playing those older songs that were kind of just they were made, but they're just sitting there and not played for a bit?
I like them because it kind of it kind of feels like you're playing a new song, period. Because like there's this new life into the set. Because sometimes we become that band where we kind of write out a set and then we stick through that for the tour because it's just flowing good. You want consistency. But sometimes you want to be a little experimental and be like, oh, we're gonna change this up or do that, do this. So like definitely adding some new songs or old new songs to the set help that like fresh vibe of like this isn't necessarily a new song, but playing it live again after like 5+ years, it feels like a new song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if it's like breathing new life into something,
Yeah, exactly.
bring it
And we
back
kind of
out.
like, my guitar setup is different now. I can try a new pedal on it just to give it a different vibe now or more vibes, let's say. So that was pretty cool, and then some of the one-off, the EP songs or single songs we did. So we took a lot of songs to Europe, and we kind of were just like we did keep four in our back pocket of the new songs. Um, but we didn't play them every night. Sometimes we'll play like just one or two, but if it was like right now we can't do no wrong, like we're kind of fucking killing it. It's like we're doing everything. We're going for it, like and it works. Kind of read the room a little bit, just stick to the set, or it's like let's sprinkle it in now, or. So that was cool, but again, it was like we had to relearn all these old songs and get ready to these songs. So it kind of like, let's be honest, forgot not forget, but we got to kind of get that touch for the new songs back. So like now that we're back and we're done, we finished our last little run. It's kind of like, okay, guys, let's start finishing everything we need for the album, the mastering, the artwork. We did a music video, which you were a part of.
That was really, really fun
Thanks,
being
man.
there. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And I don't know who the director was. Like,
Yeah, that's our homie Fredo. He shot the our first video ever, Crystal Ball.
nice.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, a callback in the Levitation Room world. There was a few callbacks in our Levitation Room world for that video because like we brought back our buddy Alfredo to make the video. And then the two main actors, they were both from different older music videos, the Pienso en Ti video and the U Child video. So like when we were talking about that idea, like the premise of a character, this and that, our friend was like, "Well, who's going to be in it? Is it going to be one of you guys acting it? And who do we get for the female part?" And I was like, "Well, we can kind of like, I think it would be cool to bring back just like familiar faces, let's say. And he was like, "Yeah, that's cool with me." And I hit him up, and they were both just like, "Yeah, of course, let's make it work."
Yeah. And
So that was
that's
pretty cool.
that's all we're gonna say about the premise of the video. Go check it out when it's out because it's gonna be
Yeah,
sick.
we leave it at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, taking a step back from the video and all that. So now that we're done with all of our shows, it's kind of like let's start getting everything in order. And two things: we got to start jamming to relearn our new songs when we release this stuff, or be able to kind of have a solid live version of them. And we're in the midst of like thinking about just going for it, just writing another album already. Because we did cut like 4 or 5 songs from what we recorded for the album. We recorded like 15, maybe 16 songs. I think 15, but there's a sixth one from a different session, I think. Um, but we just kept it at 10. And these other songs, like for sure, we want to kind of rework them, redemo them with some different, I don't know, whatever the guys were thinking. So it's like, okay, that's like half an album's worth, just kind of like we kind of just put on the side. So let's just write a few more and let's see how we can make them work together, or let's just start writing new material too. I know I have like a handful of phone demos. Julian has a handful of phone demos. There's random demos that we jammed together that I was listening to, or I was listening to my demos that I kind of mess around on my Logic and my laptop. Sometimes I'm just like, dude, I have demos that I was doing during like the pandemic, like just being bored in my room and just needed to do something. Just wrote a simple song or some kind of weird. Me and John make this joke of the obscure hours, of like these like like these cool, sexy coffee shop hip hop-ish beats, and then you're putting like, I don't know, organs or synths on it and just like this obscuro stuff. So I'm always making the joke, like if I'm hearing like artsy avant-garde stuff somewhere, I'm like, ooh, the obscure hour, right, John? And so things like that too, just like these random beats that I made and just kind of layered textural synths and organs. And I want to see if I can turn some of those into a Levitation Room song. You know, um, So yeah, there's been like just like demos that I've kind of been messing around with the obscure hours, and take those ideas and see what we can turn those songs into maybe a Levitation Room song. And so there's a lot just like stuff hanging around in the air. It's just can we work it out? You know, I was
Yeah.
listening to some of those like laptop demos that I did, and I was scrolling through stuff, and one of them was like a random like phone message, and it was a jam of us in the room, like in our studio. And I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "I've never heard this before." So it's like cool to find something new that's like, "Okay, I need to save this because I gotta make it a point to bring this up to the guys because there was something happening right here in this little jam." So
Yeah.
there's a lot of that. So it's kind of like, let's make the time to relearn our old songs. So it shouldn't be that hard, really, or new songs, and then start just going with the momentum of keeping creative juices of writing new material.
Yeah, is it better to have all these things up in the air than to have like nothing and be like, I don't know what the fuck to do now. I don't know. I don't have anything
Yeah,
going on.
of course it's better. I think so. Like even if sometimes it's like, oh, I was just sitting at the park or in my backyard playing guitar and I was recording it, you don't want to be like, no, there's nothing there, just disregard it. It's kind of stupid. It's kind of silly. It's like, dude, even if it's like 5 seconds of something, if it's there, you never know what that 5 seconds can turn into.
Right, right.
10 seconds. I don't know where I heard this from, but like I I heard, I think, like, David Bowie was a proponent of, like, never throw away an idea, document it, archive it. You might use it later, it might not be a full song. It might become in like, I kind of had this song idea, but now I have this. Maybe I could put this with that. And sometimes that works. Usually that's what happens with Julian and I sometimes. Like, Julian wrote something, and then I wrote something not similar, but I wrote something, but then I have another part that I wrote, but actually that other part matches with Julian's thing. So it's like, boom, we're on
Wow.
the same wavelength, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but you just never know for sure. Like some of those not those laptop demos, I think like in 2020 going into 2021, it was still like in heavy pandemic regulation, so no one's really partying or anything. At least I didn't. I remember being at home. I remember just like I might have had COVID at the time, dude. I might have just been finishing my first bout of having COVID, and just to get out of the brain fog, I was playing guitar and just like kind of challenging myself. Can I put something together that sounds cool? Just some chords.
Yeah.
And that whole day, I was like, finally, like that this brain fog seems to be gone, and I feel I'm enjoying playing the guitar. I'm not feeling lethargic. I'm feeling creative. So like it was New Year's Eve. No one's doing shit. So I was like, I'm just gonna kind of like barricade myself all day and try to make this a song, like a little like full instrumental song. And I did.
Wow.
It doesn't sound like, wow, what a production, Gabe. It's a demo, but you can tell there's some pretty guitar stuff happening here. But the thing was, I wrote one part or one idea of a type of song, and then I had another idea for another song, and I felt like the song I was working on that day was just like, that's just too simple. So I was like, I think I could put that other song in the middle of this bitch and just sandwich it together, and it worked very well. I'm like, okay, cool. I would love to just make that a Levitation Room song. I think we have jammed it before, but we've never really captured what it needs. You know what I mean?
Right. It's there, but it's not. It needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, and then it'll be as right as rain.
Exactly, but there's definitely something there. So I would like to finalize that. So
Yeah.
that yeah, that was like so yeah. I remember it being like Happy New Year, and like the neighborhood's lighting off fireworks, people that are doing stuff, and I remember just like stepping out, like smoking a bowl maybe, and then like being like, "Well, I'm gonna go back and just try to finish this idea. So it was pretty cool to do that, and just like not be like really too concerned about like, oh, it's New Year's. You got to party at the last night of the year. It's
Of
like,
course.
well,
Like
no one's
no,
doing that
you
this
gotta
year.
make some music. That's what you gotta do. Everyone
Right?
else had it wrong. You're like, you
We're,
better be.
we're in the lab, dude. We're putting
Yeah.
in work always, dude.
Oh, you're celebrating? Oh, I'd never take a day off. I'm working. I'm working on good stuff.
That's what you celebrate. That's you're where you're at, dude.
Yeah,
'Cause you're always celebrating.
it's time to work. It's time to get some stuff done. I've been working all year,
Yeah,
literally all
exactly.
year.
No sleep.
I'm outside. I smoked a bowl. Then guess what? Right back to work.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. So like I have a lot of those like little ideas on my laptop, and I guess they're bounced now on my phone because like you always want to just like let me hear what it sounds like in the car in my headphones, you know. But I
Sure.
definitely showed like Kevin, our new bass player, some of these songs, and he's like, "What? These sound super cool," you know. Like there's something here for sure. It's not like wow, you have a whole album ready to go on your own, you know, but there's a handful of songs that are like we can go somewhere with these. And I'm totally fine with that because I like the creative process of collaborating and bringing in everyone's interpretation of what they think a Levitation Room song should be,
Right.
right? As opposed to like, no, 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 I wanted it to be like this. You know, it's like, nah, yes and no. You know, let's just stay in that world of whatever this is, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
You know, like one of the songs for the new album, so we had like I said, we had like about a good amount of songs ready to go, and then like within a week or two before we were gonna hit the studio while we were jamming, just like rehearsing really hard, I would say like two, maybe three songs came out brand new from that extra just on some extra time, you know, just always putting in that work,
Of
you
course.
know?
Per
And
usual. I mean, yeah.
yeah, mandatory. And but like some some way we put together three songs, and one of those songs was an old idea that like one I demoed on my phone like four different ways, and then like during the pandemic we jammed it just like jamming, and there was like something there a few years ago. And then when we were getting ready and rehearsing, just to like make it fresh outside of doing the new stuff, I kind of brought back that chord progression and rhythm, and our bass player was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "It's something that we kind of had, but we never really finished." And we kind of jammed on it. And Julian, just for some reason, that like finally had like a feel for maybe vocal, like lyrically and vocally doing something with it. That was cool. And within like a day, we pretty much fleshed out this song.
Wow.
And
That's crazy.
yeah, of course, you know, since we had like a week or two still left, we were gonna try to do more to it, and you know, make. But it was cool to see like I had the idea in my phone, and the riff that I wrote kind of still survived. It didn't have to be altered too much. Um, turn into like the phone jam from a few years ago, and then turn into a new phone jam with the new batch of guys, and then finally like the actual recorded version. It kind of like exceeded what I thought it should sound like, but what it is now, it's like fucking cool. I don't regret it. I'm not like, it wasn't what I wanted, you know. I'm not, you know, it sounds like fuck, it's kind of tight, dude. We were playing that song for sure live for the tour and for our California shows this past week. For sure, for a new song, when we're done playing it, it gets a big response. Like it's kind of got people are liking what they hear, right? I feel like it has like an infectious rhythm, so it's kind of easy to kind of just digest, which is good. You know, easy digestion. We're getting older, it's good, it's key, you know.
Yeah, gotta keep it moving smoothly.
Keep it moving, yeah, keep it working. So it's like it's cool, the evolution of it from what it was, what I kind of thought about doing with it, and then what it is now, and like how it's being received when we do it live. So I'm like, and actually, we kind of just thought about this. The song we recorded, we did a music video for a few months ago, which you were there for. That is our lead off single right now that we're gonna
Okay.
do.
Rad.
But after there's the tour, the European tour, and the shows that we did in California not long ago, the way like the response of that song has been going of the other new song, it's kind of like I think that should be the lead off single, dude. You
Ooh.
know, just
Yeah.
like we just got to put a fire under our asses and create the video quick so we can get that one out, and this other one will be released soon after. It's in its own respect, it's a great song, but the way there's definitely a big discrepancy in the way this song is received, you know? Yeah. We played the Troubadour, and I was up doing setting up the projector for our show last Friday, and, we finished sound check, and I'm setting up the projector and, like, the sound where the sound guy does the sound, right?
Mhm.
And he was up there helping me with the lights, and he was like, "What was that last song you guys were checking?" And he said some kinda song, I think some, like, fuck, Cool in the Gang song, you know, because 'Cause it's got, like, a little funky bossa feel, and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, the blah, blah, blah song." I was like he's like, "Is that a cover?" And I was like and John heard it, and I guess he knew that song, our drummer, and he's like, "No, it's not a cover, but I know what song you're talking about. It's definitely a funky song." And I was like, "That's cool." Like, I mean, he thought it was a cover, but he thought it was dope,
Yeah.
you know? For me, that was like left field, like not once did I think Cool in the Gang for this song, but also like, I'm not mad at that. That's fucking cool, you know?
Uh,
And the gang.
cool in the game
Um
was just tight. Yeah, that's cool. And the game.
literally, that's Cool in the Gang. No, but you know, I often sometimes say like but I often say sometimes like a good song, like when you hear it for even when you hear it for the first time and you fall in love with that song, sometimes it's almost like you like heard that song before or you knew it already and now it's
Yeah.
finally being gifted to you and you're just like it's like this warm blanket that just feels good, you know?
I felt that way
And I,
before too. Like hearing a song, like, oh, I feel like I know this feels very familiar, and like that I like this already,
yeah,
even though it's the first time hearing it. Sure.
yeah, and it might be reminiscent to another song that you really love or a genre of music that you're really into, right? But it's like it says something about a song when you feel that way about it. That familiarity makes it way more easier for you to, you know, be totally like enamored or just like, you know, all about put it on repeat on that Spotify, build those
Sure.
streaming revenues up. No, I'm kidding.
Get that dollar. Get that
Yeah,
dollar
get
after
that penny, a
thousand
solid
plays.
penny. Yeah. But so that I feel like that song definitely has that. So we're kind of like in the midst of talking like our single release order. Like, should we switch that and just go hard? You know, and just go with the one that we feel is like kind of slapping a little bit harder, you know?
Right.
So we'll see how that goes.
Man, that's awesome. You guys have been really busy. When you guys came back from that Europe kind of the Europe run, how what was the time duration between the the last
A
show of
week.
tour? That's crazy.
We were gonna initially like do like do Europe and then come back and like within a day or two play. We were gonna cut our European tour short, like by a few days, so we can fly into Austin and play the levitate. No, not levitation. I think they did the Austin Psych Fest this year. They finally brought it back under that name,
Mhm.
and they were gonna have us play that weekend. But it was like the some obligations with the venues in Europe. We really couldn't pull out of those shows, and but that would have been insane to be like, you know, do 3 weeks in Europe, fly to Texas, start some shows at a festival, and then like tour back to California. You know,
Oh
like
man.
I mean, people do it, but it would have been a little bit. I'd be asleep still right now if we did that. We took a week off, then we did like a little run, and now we're like officially done. Not done, but like you know, we could take an official break to really hash everything out, and feels nice. There's a lot to hash out, but it feels nice.
Right. Oh man. That's
Yeah.
wild. Uh, what is the difference between how European audiences react to these songs as opposed to like audiences in the state? Is there a major difference or is it relatively the
I
same?
mean, no, I mean, sometimes, like, definitely, yeah, there is. Depending, like, in Europe, sometimes it varies by the country, like, a little bit. Like, in California, we get, like, a good mixed bag of, like, you know, the younger crowd losing their shit. And then, you know, the people that have seen us and been seeing us for the past few years, they're still losing their shit, but it's like, you know, our music necessarily isn't mosh pit music, you know, but definitely dancing and singing along, which is great to see. Um, but in Europe, I feel like a lot of like some cities can be a little bit more, they're into the music, but they're a little more like I don't know if they're reserved or they're more like there to like watch the show and not be so like them being the show with moshing and like, stage diving or whatever, crowd surfing and dancing, which is like, no, 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 we want the energy. Like in Spain, that was put some of our more just in general crazier shows of people really into it. And like at a certain point, we played this like little show in Sopela. It's like in northwest Spain, I guess, Basque country.
Okay.
And
I've
it
heard
was
of
like
that region, Basque region. I
yeah,
understand
it's in
yeah,
the Basque region. It's
Basque region.
beautiful there,
Okay.
dude. Believe it
Any
or not, when I was in Basque country, I
yeah,
was still working hard. No.
uh, per usual. Yeah, I would expect nothing less.
Those
Obviously.
beautiful photos were hard work, dude. I had
Yeah,
a squat, hold a squat, you know.
it's difficult, and you work out to get those angles. It's difficult. Like it's not just clicking a button. It's many more things. You got to make sure that the light's proper and
Yeah. Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
good. Foreground, background,
Yeah.
light. Again,
Yeah. Uh, so we played like this small place and it was like a cafe bar type vibe. And it was like a small town. We even felt like, man, it's gonna be one of those shows where nobody's here. That was definitely, and this is gonna come back to what I was saying about touring Europe then and now. Um, just one of those shows. We even told our bass player Kevin, like, sometimes you got to fill in the date, and get the accommodations and the meals and the experience. The show is kind of like it's practice. And so we're hanging around this cafe in this quiet little town, kind of like overlooking the coast. We're just kind of like, damn, well, these people are pretty cool. Like this surfer dude. The cafe has like this vibe, this tiki vibe and stuff. And so we're just hanging. And as the day's progressing, people and they're opening up their cafe bar, people are just coming to hang out, and like youngish folks, ordering food and this and that. And as it's becoming night, people are showing up, dude. And then by the time we know it, it's like fucking packed, dude, like of young people. And it was cool, right? We're like, oh shit. It kind of felt like an old school party, like show. And we played, and people were going fucking nuts. And then there was one song, the song Friends. Um, when I played the riff for it, like, immediately, the whole room started, like, singing the melody along with my guitar, you know? And I looked up, and we all, like, looked at each other, and it was like, "That's a first." Like, the
that's
whole room
crazy.
doing the guitar part. Um, and we're like, "That was fucking cool, man." Like, that definitely hyped us up for sure. Um, but yeah, so then we stayed there, and we stayed at that cafe because the back room was just like this, like, fucking, like, hidden, like, gem little apartment. They kind of situated for us to, like, enough beds and places for us to stay. Um, and it was just super beautiful. Like, you really couldn't, like, plan. I mean, I guess you could if you know about it, but it would be hard to know to go to this town and do something cool and check things out. After the show, we had some, like, drinks with the guys, and then we even went to go check out, like, the coast in the middle of the night. And it was cool, just kinda getting a different experience, small town vibe. And, so we were, like, at the next day when we're going to the next show, I was telling Kevin, like, "That's the Euro experience, like, money doesn't buy too often." You know what I mean? Like, because for the most part, that tour was, like, decent hotels, nice hotels, decent club rooms. I mean, God forbid that's all happening, right? But like our first tours were definitely like, yeah, well the bar has like a loft upstairs and that's where you guys are gonna sleep. Or it's like, oh, you guys are gonna stay at my apartment and I'm gonna go stay with my girlfriend for the night. And the apartment's kind of like a little thrashed, you know, or just like sometimes the hotels too, but also just gotta roll with the punches kind of accommodations. And we were talking about like these small town shows in Europe and these great like really I would hate to just use this corny word, just like, content creator word, authentic experience kind of thing. But there are these moments where we do those things, like, wow, you couldn't really plan that, think of that, Anthony Bourdain ain't got nothing on that. And
No reservations, no problem.
yeah, so yeah, yeah. Those are like childish vacation spots, No, but we kept on telling our bass player when we're out there, like, "Oh, dude, sometimes you stay at a place and blah, blah," and it wasn't happening. And he was even like, I guess you guys have definitely upgraded because we haven't really done anything like too like it's been pretty like standard issue kind of tour, like morning drive, hotel check-in, sound check, showtime, back to hotel. Maybe every now and then, slide in some exploring the city that you're in. But this was the night that was like small town, just random, unexpected, great experience. Sleeping in like a weird kind of setup, but it was still kind of cool. And that the next day, I was like, "That was the experience we've been talking about, Kevin." And he was like, "I loved it. That was fucking awesome. It was a great show." And I was like, "Yeah, dude. Every tour has like one of those. Yeah, you would have never expected in your life something so fucking cool like that."
Were you renting gear on this tour, or did you bring your guitar over, or what was the thing about that?
Well, yeah, with the fortunately, which makes it all pretty streamlined and easy, is when we go on tour, our booking agent also has like the van rental and the backline gear. So like as far as like drums, we rent, um, guitar amps and bass amp, but we bring our own guitars and pedals, which could be a bitch. Like I play two guitars on stage, a 6 string and a 12 string, and that's a bitch, dude, to travel with because you got to think like luggage, like a backpack personal item, two fucking guitars. It's like my hands are full at the airport, dude. And this year I bought, and it's right here, a soft shell case, but it's like for two guitars. And I was like, yeah, it's perfect. I'll be able to just I don't have to check a bag or anything or the guitars. I can just bring it on with me. And I was able to, but fuck, dude, I didn't think about how heavy like the case and the two guitars would be, dude. It was pretty brutal. Like for sure it's about like I don't know, 30 some pounds that you gotta
Oh
load on
man,
your back.
yeah.
And airports be playing with you, dude. Like it's like you're checking in your ticket and then you're like, oh, you gotta go over there. And then you go over there and then like now you gotta go back over there. And then it's like, but your gate is all the way over there. And it's like, we were just kind of over there. What the fuck, dude? You know how heavy this guitar is, dude? But I have to play it cool because I don't want to be like walking on the airplane like where do I put this thing? And then they're like, you have to check something like that. I'm always just like, is there room for this aboard? And they're like, yeah, it should be fine. I'm like, okay, cool.
Are you ever worried about the overhead, like where it's going? Like, what if somebody puts their bag on top or some shit?
Well, fortunately, since me, Kevin, and Julian all have guitars that we all take on board, usually the overheads, our guitars will fill up in overhead, so no one puts anything in there.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah, so which
that's
is
the key.
good.
You gotta travel with multiple musicians that have guitars and whatnot.
That's
It's like
key,
that's
or put your backpack in there. Usually, I feel like too, most people have the courtesy of like they'll see it, even if it's one guitar in there, and they'll probably like if it's a small bag, they might try to squeeze it in, which is okay for me. But I think for most people, like they'll see it and they're like, I don't want to be responsible about throwing my bag on top of something like that,
they're just
which is
hucking it up there and then shutting the thing. Just
yeah, I'd be like, have some courtesy. But so yeah, we fly that, but I do have like a cool. I was like on Reverb few years ago, and I needed to step my game because I'm putting in all this work,
of course.
right?
Yeah,
And
of
I and I
course.
was and I was tired of like my pedal board setup is getting bigger. Like before, my tour setup was like 3, 4 pedals. Now it's a good amount, and it's like I can't be not having a pedal board. I can't be like resetting up all the pedals every night, and you know. So I bought a nice pedal board, and I found a really cool flight case. It was actually like a Gator case, but it was for like mixers for sound guys. But my pedal board fit those perfect dimensions, and it sits it nice and snug. So I got to check that, like underneath with all the luggage. But It's a nice case. I'm boasting about this case. Okay, this is a fucking awesome pedal
It's
board
it's
case.
a
I don't think anyone
reverb
has.
case. Yeah, of course. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a great case.
come on.
And sponsor. Um, and so I have to check that, but that's all right. I trust where it's going, you know. And
Yeah, I
always fly with, and always travel with travelers insurance. So if it gets lost and the airlines try to dick you, like we can't pay cover the cost of whatever we lost, which because they usually are going to tell you that. It's like, well, all right, well, I have travelers insurance. I'll make a claim and hopefully I'll get my money back to rebuy pedals. Worst case scenario, of course, you know.
yeah. And if it's like, I'll
Yeah,
see you in court. I'll see you in reverb
I will
court.
see. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Reverb court. Uh, so yeah, I mean, so we travel with most of our stuff like that. We have driven ourselves in Europe several times too. Like our first tour, we had a driver, and then we kind of were like, I could drive these roads. It's not too bad. The GPS navigation system is pretty good. You know, shows you exactly where to go. Um, so like our first time we had a tour driver, and it was pretty cool because he showed us the ropes, gave us a lot of advice when certain cities think about this, think about that, you know. And but after that, we kind of just drove ourselves. But this time around, it was like, well, I mean, let's see if a friend wants to come help us out, tour manage and drive, you know? And John had a friend, Jared. John's like a motorcycle enthusiast. You know, he rides motorcycles and he loves like cars, engines, let's say. You know, one of those guys. A lot of
Yeah.
denim, a lot of oil stains, you know. Um, and he's like, my buddy Jared, like, he's a pretty reliable guy and he'd be down. I think he can handle what we're looking for. And he's a photographer, you know, like he literally is a photographer as a profession. So he could bring his cameras and just, collect content.
Which is
And
key. Sure. Always working.
we only did the tour for content,
Yeah.
like, even if there was like two people there, we made it look like it was fucking popping,
Yeah,
you know,
200 people there. Right.
200 people there,
Right.
dude. Yeah.
And you know
Dial.
those, the angles. You personally know the angles. So you're like, hey, get it like this. Because like you know which ends up with the photography.
Yeah, from this angle, one person looks like 10,
Mhm.
exactly. So we kind of proposed to him the idea, like, would you want to come and drive for us and help us out? And he was just like, yeah, fuck yeah, I would love to, dude. Like, we'll cover the cost and this and that. And he went like above and beyond sorting everything out for us. Like, he definitely took on the idea of tour manager very serious for us, which is awesome, you know.
Yeah.
We helped him out to drive here and there, but he was also like, I love to drive, dude, so it's not a problem for me,
I'm an
I was like,
engine
all right.
guy, dude. Like I'm
Yeah.
obviously I want to
And
do
you
this.
don't see the denim, you don't see the grease. So that was awesome. Like just to have a friend come, ease the load off from us, and just hang out with us. Also give the fresh vibe outside of just like the four guys in the band.
Yeah.
So it definitely made life a little bit easier. So that was pretty awesome and interesting to have like a tour manager.
That's cool. Did you
I,
bring
I
any
recommend. I mean, if you work hard, I recommend.
I mean, of course, of course. If you have, you know, the work ethic and yeah, if
Yeah,
it's needed. Uh,
right, exactly.
did you bring any merch over there to sell as well?
That's another thing on top of, so check this out. Okay, on top of check bag, backpack carry-on item, laptop, right? Guitar, pedal board case. I had to fly and check in two big duffel bags of merch, like t-shirts stuffed with merch.
Oh man.
It was like madness, dude. Like, I mean, I assumed the responsibility to bring them, right? The merch is obviously all of our responsibility, but it was like, fuck, this shit takes up my luggage alone takes up a whole fucking car, dude. That's not the most efficient way to say travel, right?
Yeah.
But it's worth it. I mean, we have in the past paid like a European screen printing company to make shirts for us and then send it to our booker that's in Europe.
Hmm.
Um, but we've also, I think sometimes it's been easier and cheaper for us just to like stuff the duffel bags, pay the bag charge on the airlines,
Right, right.
and then cross your fingers that we don't have to bring those bags fucking back. You sell everything and you don't have to pay for an extra bag. And that's what we did. you know? We did bring back some merch from there, like, we didn't sell everything, but enough to be like, "Okay, you pack a few, you pack a few, you pack a few, and then we're good." You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that was pretty cool. We actually did bring back some shirts. We made some shirts exclusively for the European run,
Mhm.
and we brought some back. There were some leftovers, so it was just kind of like, we're gonna start up finally. We're gonna up our game and put in a little more work and do like an online merch store, and we'll have that on there as like a, a rarity item. Even this guy here, I brought back a bunch of these. This is a 7-inch single
Oh,
that was
man.
released by this label in Belgium. Check this out. So when we released the album, someone approached us with like, "Hey, I'd like to do a collaboration single." So we did Polydactyl Cat, and on the backside, the B side is 2025 from the same album, Headspace, but it's like the demo version of it, where like Glenn is doing a real heavy, you know, Farfisa organ part. Instead of like really guitar dominant, it's Farfisa dominant. Um, so like we put the album out, they contacted us to do a little collab, and Harry and Greenway was down to do it. And of course the world stopped, so we hadn't seen these records in 3 years. They were like, "Yeah, we'll ship them to your booker's house because that's where you're gonna meet up and get all your stuff, right?"
Sure.
So my bookers had these for like 3 years, like in his room with the other merch and shit like that.
Wow.
And yeah, so this was our first time seeing them, dude. But the crazy thing about it is that I think our second tour in Europe, we played in Belgium. I don't want to say Ghent, but I want to say nearby Ghent, and beautiful little gothic town. And we met these guys, Bar, Jonas, and I forget who else. And they were in a band, and we got they were really sweet guys. We were hanging out with them for the night, drinking. In Belgium, you gotta drink, dude. You gotta have some good fucking beers. Those are the best beers, dude.
Best beers
So
hands down, in your
yeah,
opinion, Gabe. That's
for me, best the hardest working beer in
you have
town.
to being a workhorse, like, that's what fuels you. Okay. I just wanna make sure.
Right, that's what you need. And but it's really good fucking beer. And like out there, since it's like their regular beer, it's like cheap as fuck. So it's like I'm gonna enjoy this. We got sauced, but one of the guys in the band had like a tattoo. He showed us his tattoo, and it was like a tattoo of one of like our like old flyer imagery art, you know? We're like, no fucking way. So they kind of became like, friends abroad, like we for sure know who these cats are.
Like, was it just by
Yeah.
chance that you guys crossed paths, or was it like intentionally, like he came up like, "Hey,
Well,
I
he was in
love
the band that was
Reverend."
opening for us, and I think
Ah,
he was like definitely adamant about trying to talk to our bookie about having them open with us. And yeah, they did. And so this whole time we're doing this collab a couple years later after that we meet those guys. This Belgium company is like, Jonas wants to do this collab, Jonas this, Jonas that. Well, I don't know who the fuck this guy is. And we get to Belgium finally, and they're like, because they set up our show in Belgium on this last tour, and I even told them like, oh, we kind of sold out already from our batch. Is there any extras? They're like, yeah, we'll bring you pretty much what's left for you guys. And we get there, and like Jonas has them, and I meet Jonas, and it's not the guy with the tattoo, but a guy in his band that I remember. You know, I'm like, you guys are the guys that put this out. They're like, yeah. And they're like, he's like, I love the band so much I took it on like as a fan passion project, really. And I was like,
wow.
oh wow, that's fucking cool, man. You
Yeah.
know? So I'm like honored, one that like he wanted to do that, and two, just by like us just being down to do cool things like that, he was able to have just like that, satisfaction that he executed that project.
Yeah.
And and it's called Feles Records, a little promo if anyone's listening to it. They have a band too, and they release other cool bands. It's Feles Records. And
And that was a collaboration between Greenway and Fellas.
Feles. Yeah. So thank you for everything,
Yeah.
guys.
Shout out to him.
Great. Bart, his a bandmate and just kind of like partner, gave us some really cool fucking beers out there. So again, shout out again.
Shout
Um
out to him, man.
so and then So yeah, we have all this stuff now, so we're definitely gonna be like the Euro shirts, that exclusive release that was only sold in European shows. We're gonna hopefully start up an online store and have like the exclusive department, or just like accessibility to things we wouldn't necessarily be able to sell. You know?
Right. Those the little run that you did on the California coast, those shirts were rad too.
Thank you, man. Those that was like our collaboration between me and John, and yeah, initially that was supposed to be only because we made like a little bit of shirts for our first California run in like I think was it March or something like that before we left to Europe. And and they sold good, if not almost completely gone. I was like, wow, I did the math on that almost perfectly, you know? And
One duffel
we had some
bag on that coming back.
a little half duffel, you know. No, but
Half
we
duffel,
did
yeah.
have some leftover sizes, so I was like, let's take them to Europe. Fuck it, you know. People love overseas, love to buy Los Angeles things or California things, especially if we are from California. And those were going pretty good too. Our tour manager that was selling doing the merch was like, "Are you guys gonna make more of these?" And I was like, "I don't know." So it was kind of like a one-off exclusive thing. And he was like, "I think you should do another one-off, dude, because people love these shirts."
One more, one off. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, a two-off, you
A
know.
two off.
Yeah,
If we're counting,
and
it's just two off.
yeah, and so we did. And they sold really good, and we're kind of down just to a few left again, so we're just gonna save them and put them up on the merch store and be able to more people to have access. Or there might be just for a little while a little staple piece. Maybe do it in different colors, you know, because right now it's in a white with red print, which I
Mhm.
think is like a very vibrant and popping kind of
It's a good shirt.
yeah. So maybe try it out in different colorways and just kind of make that like, you know, the 2023 look, and then next year it was when I said one off, I meant 1 year
One
run,
year
and
and then
then
1 year off and then 1 year back
yeah,
on afterwards. So
yeah.
2024
And
gone,
then we run the hoodie.
2025.
We run the hoodie.
And the other shirts are super sick too. The ringer shirts, I think is what you call it, like with like the
Yeah,
different color
collar and
neck hole
yeah,
and sleeves. Those are really rad too.
yeah. That's kind of been a staple of ours too. You know, just kind of like just doing things outside of the box of just say a white shirt or a black shirt. You know, I think that kind of gives a little bit more vibe. We definitely are a band of retro influence. So might as well kind of incorporate that into the merchandise too, you know?
Right. Do you remember the first piece of merch, like the first t-shirt that you guys put out?
Yeah, I have all the shirts we've ever pressed like folded in my closet. The crazy story about that is um it's so when we first started, we kind of were like well, I mean, you know, Julian and John were from Whittier. I'm from West Covina, and we would always get together in Whittier and jam. And at the time in Uptown Whittier, there was this like health store, juice store on the and like craft beers place. It was called Phoenix 54, and like the local college kids and people about our age and you know early mid 20s, that's where people would go. You know, they had open mic nights. They had you know local just artists and kids just doing their thing. The owner of the store, Kyle, would always give anyone that was like genuine and just like he deemed felt like a good person, he would give them his space, his restaurant and space to do what they wanted to do, you know? And that's where Julian did a lot of his open mics and get like, you know, cut his teeth in performance, you know, and things like that. And where we played one of our first shows ever, you know, and he really supportive of us. And one day, I don't know how it came about. I think we were just there hanging out and figuring out what we were gonna do with the band or try how we are gonna create merch. And he was just like, "How you guys doing?" And I'm like, "We're good, man. We're just kind of like figuring out how we're gonna make some merch." Right, we're gonna start playing shows, and we think we need merch and stuff, you know. And he was like, "Oh, how much is it?" And I'm like, "Well, we were quoted this much." And he was like, "Yeah, I'll get that for you right now." And we're like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll give it to you guys. Like, all I ask is just give me a couple just to have in the shop, and that's it." And he did that except for like a few bands, us, Plague Vendor, and another band. I couldn't remember who.
Wow.
And yeah, he just had love like that for just like the kids pretty much. Cause he was like, I don't know what he was or what he did, but like he kind of came out of nowhere in Whittier. And he was like, his story was like this older man that was kind of like, he battled cancer and he swore that like he was able to battle cancer by eating more healthy and naturally. So that was the whole idea of like this Phoenix 5-4 place. It was like a juice, everything was there was like organic and whatever the fuck, and good beers because you know and
Work hard,
and
eat
so he
healthy, that
did.
kind of thing. Yeah, for you. I get
Yeah,
yeah.
and he hired cool young people there, like artistic types, and just gave everyone in that little area a hub of just a place to do that, to do it. The city didn't approve of shows or open mics or whatever, and he didn't give a fuck. He was like, well, fuck, this is my place, and I always, why not, So that guy was very integral to us and other artists too. Plague Vendor, definitely. I think they worked there, and
Kind of
it was very,
an odd name or an odd band name to come out of there.
yeah. Yeah, and yeah, unfortunately, over the years he passed away. But for sure, like when I think about the first opportunity we had to create ourselves through merchandise, or just that next, it makes a band feel like, wow, we're going somewhere else now. From like just the garage jamming to just like to playing Kyle's place. He gave us Sunday night to play. Actually, our first show was at there on a Sunday with Juju. So going from that to like, finally being a band that's like, maybe we should make merch. It's like he was integral for all of that. He's part of the story. Yeah, he was just a really sweet guy. And yeah, there isn't many people like him. We're willing to put like, his heart's always in the right place. It's a seldom kind of character you meet.
Man, that's awesome. Um, Gabe, I don't know how we would top that story off. Thank you so
Should I
much for
grab
coming
the
back on.
shirt really quick and show
You
it off?
should.
Mind you, this was done like ghetto print too. Like the homie's homie did it in the backyard.
Rad.
We didn't even know how to like
Dang, that's
vector.
sick.
We didn't know how to vector art anything, so it kind of came out spotty. It was the image to our first little like demo EP that we made.
Was that the first thing you guys ever put out?
Yeah, I recorded all that.
Wow. That's awesome. And that was 2013?
Yeah, between 13 to like 15, it was just all these like random computer demos, just like not demos, but efforts of recording ourselves and just like it's got to be documented. We don't have the money to be in a nice studio, but we got a MacBook, desktop, some mics. Let's figure it out, dude.
And you did. You made it work.
Yeah, we made it work, man.
Um, Gabe, always a pleasure talking to you, man. But before I let you go, I got some promo to do for Lev
Sure.
Room. So, Levitation Room's music streaming everywhere. And make sure to follow Levitation Room on Instagram to get that news. And that's at levitation_room on Instagram. That's the best place to keep up to date with news and whatnot. You can go and buy the Headspace record from Greenway, right? That's a good place to get some stuff.
Yeah, definitely from Greenway Records.
greenwayrecords.com, and through the Bandcamp, levitationroom.bandcamp.com also has that good stuff and that demo that we were talking about, which is really, really good, and everything else. And as of for right now, you can go find some merch at merchbar.com or at churchofpickle.com. Yeah, and do we have anything else to promote, okay, before we cut you
At,
loose here?
at the time, I wish we did, but right now, everyone just please hang tight, and we're gonna have plenty of stuff to be bombarding your ears with. So just hang tight.
You guys are working hard always.
Yeah,
So yeah.
always. I gotta
Some
go to work after this.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, I know I took up a lot of time today, and I
Yeah,
apologize. Gabe, you're awesome. I'm gonna stop recording this. I'll talk to you in a minute. All right.
sure.
Thank you, man.